All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to work on an old Craftsman 44975, excuse me, 44975. And this is an old enough that it has the oil port hole on the top up here, and it's still, the indent still works. It works, but it's dirty. I can tell just by the sound of it. It hadn't been taken apart in ages. So, let's get after it. Maybe somebody might want to see the insides of one of these. Some of you guys, this is old school, and some never seen it done, so let's show somebody. And this one is stuck dirty. Oh, there is all kinds of dirt in this. All kinds of nasties. This was actually used. By the looks of it and the smell of the dirt, you can smell the oil. It was used in a shop, a garage or something like that. Let's see if I can get it wedged open now. Oh, yeah, it don't want to come apart. It's got a lot of grime and dirt in it. Now I'm going to have to use two hands. Little screwdriver and see if I can't pry this up a little bit. I can't get it to come up. Well, that stinks. I don't want to squirt WD down in there because I want to clean it. I don't want to oil it. Well, I'll tell you what. Wipe the dirt off. I'll wipe my pliers off, my brush. Hang on a second. I'm having troubles here. Okay. Use a little carburetor cleaner down in there, maybe. I can loosen up. I want to loose this cover off is what I want. I want that cover to come off. Now I can't grab hold of it. There it goes. Come on. There's so much dirt, I think, in it. It does not want to come loose. Yeah, I can hear the sand, dirt. I'll just say, ugh, that's splattered everywhere. Yeah, I can hear the dirt in there. Come on. Just come out of there. Just. Oh. You can see the dirt. There's a lot of crud down in that groove where this ring sits. Man. I don't know if you guys can see the dirt coming out of this thing, but it's a lot. I'm working the the spring clip, trying to work some more dirt loose. I know that's what's holding it. I think I only got $2 in this thing, so I don't think it's bad, as in not usable. I think it's just completely full of dirt. Wonder if I can get a little bigger screwdriver in there. There it goes. Sorry for the troubles, guys, but this is not an easy one to take apart. It's nasty. Just dry dirt. Teeth don't look bad as far as I can tell. It's just nasty dirty. Now, gotta get this clip off the backside off. The ball bearing. If you've never done one of these, do it in a big Ziploc bag or do it inside a container where the ball bearing don't shoot out at. The ball bearing will shoot out under here right now. The ball bearing is right down in this screw. I'll show you. Some of you guys know this. It's old hat stuff to you. There. The ball bearing is right there. Right under there. The ball bearing's right there. When I pull this cam out, the ball bearing should shoot out unless it's stuck in there with dirt. Now let's get the other screwdriver. There, the pliers. Just lift straight out. It's so dirty, grimy. Okay, the ball bearing popped out. There it is, see? And there's a spring underneath the ball bearing right there. Now what I'm going to do is put my ball bearing and spring on a magnet. I don't know if I got that spring, but that spring, for those of you, I'll stick it back in there because I may not have caught it on camera. I wasn't paying attention to the camera. I'm paying attention to what I was doing. Sorry, folks. Put the spring back down in that hole. See, that spring goes right down in that hole right there. And the ball bearing sits on top of that. And that right there is how the ball bearing, the ball bearing rides on this cam and it goes left or right on this. And this sits in that groove. So the slot sets in this groove and it just turns it left and right. That's all it does. Turns it left and right. And the ball bearing is what gives you a positive latch, one side or the other. All right, like I was saying, I put the spring on a magnet, put the ball bearing on a magnet so I don't lose it. Set it off to the side because I have lost them before, and it sucks when you do that because you feel like a dumbass when you do it. Trust me. That's why I say if you've never done one of these before, I highly recommend doing it in a Ziploc bag, a large gallon bag. That way you can you don't lose anything. This slides off right here. Let's back out a little bit here. Clean up my mess. Man, that thing was nasty. Oh yeah. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. And if you find these for $10 under, these 1/2-inch drive, buy them. These old ones like this, they are, unless you got a broken tooth or something, they're worth the money just to have them. You cannot go wrong with one of these. Just for a spare, for that matter. I use carburetor cleaner, that's my favorite. I know there's guys out there that use other stuff, and I'm comfortable with carb cleaner, that's what I use. I buy it by the case. If you find something you like, use it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, look at the grease down in the bottom of that. That's another thing hindering it. It doesn't have a smooth action because of that grease. It could be dirt too. It's a little bit of both probably at the age of this one is. Yeah. All right, let's give it another little shot here. All right, tell you what, let's do a little Dremel action. Hang on, switch up different Dremel. I got 5 Dremel tools, so. All right, guys, what I'm gonna do now, my camera died on me, sorry. I'm just going to take this over to the wire wheel and just wire wheel it, and then go on the fiber wheel and do the fiber wheel. Some of the chrome plating has come off. I don't know how much of it I can make it look good. I don't want to spend that much time on this, but that definitely needs to go on the wire wheel. That needs a lot of work. This needs a little bit of work. And I was going to show you the reason I had a hard time. Look at the dirt and the buildup underneath there. See that? A lot of your tools, especially if you guys use them heavy, you really need to clean them once in a while. This, you know, it's not going to last forever. And that's the reason that thing sounds so clunky, is the dirt inside. I mean, think about it. Look at that. Now the gear, the teeth are really in good shape. There is some wear. I can see the wear here, but it has a good positive latching connection right there. See how that fits? That it's got wear, but it's still got a lot of miles on it. There's no reason to chunk this or to not use it. It's still good. When I get done, it's going to be a very good tool. But let's go to the wire wheel and clean the rest of this up, and then fiber wheel, wire wheel, fiber wheel, and then I'm going to try to do a little polishing on it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to this 1/2 inch Craftsman I was working on. I want to show you, I got the gear, and I wanted you guys to look. I know some of this is old school to some of you guys, but there's some new viewers that might want to see. But see how the gear, the pawl, this is a pawl, how it fits on the big gear. Now look, there's almost no wear. I mean, it fits so well in there. These things are built to last a long, long time. And I'm not exaggerating when I say you can find ratchets out there that are 100, 110, 20 years old that are still usable. Most people don't use them. This one was used. And the reason I say I can tell it was used is if you look real close, you can see wear marks on the top of the gears. None of them are broke. Nothing's chipped. It's in really good condition, though it was used, but not to a point where it wear it out. There's a lot of, if you look at that, there is a lot of teeth there. Make good contact. There is a lot there. And that getting back to usability and torque, I only know of one man in my life that could probably break this ratchet. And he could bench press 505 and rep it 10 times. So very few men in my life I've ever met that could break a ratchet. Most of you are gonna break a ratchet, you're putting a cheater bar on it and you're breaking it that way. These things are not made to torque over 200 foot-pounds. I mean, the most, like on my Chevrolet, it's 140 foot-pound torque on the lug bolts. So you don't use a 1/2 inch ratchet, you're using a torque wrench anyways. So just, you know, for some of you that say, well, you know, you break them, no, I'm sorry. If it's broken, it's because it's worn over time from metal to metal contact. It's just worn. If you're gonna break something, normally on these I've seen the teeth on the big gear break. I rarely see it here break on all the ones I've taken apart. So anyways, let me wipe this thing down real quick with some carb cleaner because it has a lot of rubbing compound or polishing compound on it. And if you don't get it off, see a little black on the rag there? That's from the polishing compound. It's best just to get it off before you wax. I mean, the wax will get some of it off, but I like getting it all. Matter of fact, look at you can see the rubbing compound, the polishing compound inside there. It just builds up. See? Just give everything a good wipe down. I like carburetor cleaner because it dries to nothing. I mean, it dries very, very clean. I know Scout Crafter makes his own like 50/50 cleaner. That's fine. I just don't have that kind of material. I don't keep that around. I keep carburetor cleaner, so that's what I use. I cleaned the gear up real good, if you see that. I cleaned this up, gave it a little touch up, clean up, and then clean the gear, clean that, and I cleaned the ball bearing. Now, I have two tools here. One's for 1/2 inch drive, one's for 3/8 drive. And all this is, and I've said it before, it's 26 gauge metal studs, fire rated stud construction. I just took a corner off of it, and that cup holds the ball bearing in place. And I'll show you. Let's see if I can get a little better. Let's see. All right, listen. For some of you guys, like I said, this is old school stuff. You've done it, but there's new guys out there. Just push, there's a little hole there. Push the spring in the hole. And, oh, let me get some grease. All right, normally what I do is I put a dab of grease on there where the ball bearing goes on top of that spring. I grease the bottom in here because it is metal to metal contact. I use grease. You can use oil. If you're comfortable using oil, use oil. There's no rule out there that says you have to use a certain grease. I know Snap-on uses a certain grease. Back in the day, these used oil. I use grease. It's Mobil 1, lithium. That's what I use. It's just because that's what I've used at work for couple of decades, and that's what I use. Now, you push the ball bearing in, and the ball bearing rides on this. The ball bearing rides on this right here and on this side. And This is universal. There's some that only one side has a cup to fit. See that? But this is universal. You can use it either way. Flip it over, it doesn't matter. So normally what I do is I take this, get my hand on top of this. Now, okay, this is where you lose a ball bearing and then you're screwed if you can't find it. If you get to this point and you're not sure yourself, use a gallon Ziploc bag. I keep one, I have one here in my shop, but I'm not worried about it. If I keep this face down, if the ball bearing pops out, it'll fall in this area in here and won't roll out anywhere. Push the ball bearing down and then just slide. Oh well, now I got my finger crooked. Hang on, I can't get that. Let me pop the spring up. Let's use the other one. Doesn't matter either one, but for some reason I can't hold my mouth right. Push the spring and the ball bearing down and then push that in there. See that? See how I done that? You can use, I use this little screwdriver a lot too. The problem with this screwdriver, it's flat, so the ball bearing, if it flips one side or the other, it'll pop out. And here, let's take it apart and I'll show you again. Somebody might want to see this. Be careful now, when you pop this out, that ball bearing may fly out on you. Normally, watch. But the grease may not go anywhere. See, it didn't go anywhere. Ball bearing stayed in place. See that? And then all you do, push that ball bearing down with the spring, slide this in there, just like that. That is the hardest part of these. These are so simple to work on. If you run across any of these, buy them. For under 10 bucks, they're well worth the money. You know what, I didn't clean the groove off on this. Hang on, I'll be right back. Let me clean this and I'll come back. All right, I just gave it the groove, this clip rides in that groove and it just makes it easier to put it back together if you get all the dirt out of it. This one was really packed with a lot of dirt. Now, a couple of different things you can do here. You can put the big gear in and go on, but I like doing it this way. What I do, see that goes just like that. See how it's turned? This can only go two ways. Here or at this angle. Matter of fact, I can show you without the clip in there. See, it flips over, flips this way. Flips over, and it won't pop out of there. Now, what I'll do, get my pair of pliers. Having difficulty, but it's no big deal. It'll go in there, I know it will. Let's try the smaller pair of pliers. I usually can't do it with these tiny pair, not on these 1/2 inch. Well, I'm having difficulties. Oh, yeah, I can't do it with them. It has to be compress it. There. See? And watch. You can see the gear. See how it switches from left to right? That's all it is. All that ball bearing does is lock it on that one pivot, on the top of, or the bottom of the pivot. There's the top of it in the center, and then it bottoms out. Now, here, I like sticking a little grease, just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a lot. You can do what you want. Like I said, I just put a little bit of grease on any metal-to-metal contact. It's what I do. I know some of you guys like oil. If you like oil, use it. It's not going to hurt anything. And like I've said before, these are not spinning at 3,400 RPM. So don't fill it full of grease. You don't need it. Number one, grease expands when it gets hot. In these, it won't expand, but it will collect a lot of dirt if you use it. If you pack this thing full of grease, you're not going to get a room for dirt to get in. And if you get them dirty, it's easy to take apart and clean. That's all you do right there. Now, what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to grease much of this because I've already got grease down there, but I am going to grease the gear. It doesn't need a lot. This thing is going to work probably, well, I know it's going to work better than when I bought it here because it was full of dirt and nasties. It won't work as good as new, but it's going to be pretty close. I mean, if you want something that's a 100-tooth gear and you want, you know, perfect, well, go buy you a brand new one. Spend your money. Spend whatever you want for it. I can buy these for $10 or less all day long, and for me, they're a good buy. Okay, before you stick the gear in there, set this right dead center, right on top of the ball bearing, because if not, it won't drop in there. See? If the gear is just to one side, this will not fit in there. You'll difficulty getting it in there. It's hard. You can, but it's difficult. It's best just to set that right dead center and the gear falls right in. No problems. Now, I'm not greasing this part right here because I've got a little bit of grease on the top there. Just drop that on there. Well, don't dummy me. Hang on. I cleaned this E-clip too, or it's not an E-clip, it's a spring clip. Whew, that's pretty tough. It's hard to squeeze it with your fingers. What we need to do, come on. And take your time. This is not a horse race, ladies and gentlemen. If you find one of these, you want to clean it, don't rush to get it done. Take your time. If you've never done one before, take your real slow time. There you go. That's it. Flip it over. A lot different. And this thing's sweet now. All right. Let me clean my hands and wax this. We'll come and wax. I want to show you something before I forget. All right, guys. Throw a little wax on here. And I always show what I use. So this is the wax I use. It's cleaner wax. I like it. It's what I've used forever. So you guys can use what you like. I put wax on my tools. One, you see there, the little black. There's still some polishing compound or grease or whatever that I may have got on there, dirty fingerprints. Just to clean them. It helps if you go to use your tools when you're working on something that's got a liquid. It keeps it from sticking. It rolls off. It works. You don't have to do this. It's just what I do. So what I was taught, so that's what I do. All my tools, everything gets a coat of wax. Even hatchets, hammers, they all get a coat of wax. It's just the way it is. I clean all my tools. I keep my tools clean. They're valuable asset for me. You guys may not, think of your tools as an asset, but to me they are an asset because they make money or save me money. I have to have tools to make a living, so I take care of mine. And plus, on top of that, you spend $70 on a ratchet, a brand new one. Why in the hell would you let it get nasty, cruddy, and dirty, and janky? Come on. If you're that lazy and can't keep up your tools, then you're probably not keeping up anything in your property. All right. Here we go. Nice, cleaned up, 1/2 inch Craftsman ratchet. This is old school. The reason I say it's old school, it's got that little oil spout, the little ball bearing. Speaking of, just a second. Almost forgot. I need a little oil in the, can't grab it with that. Oh, I gotta get my other pliers. They're not on the table. I need to oil the release. Well, you know what, dummy? It's a thumb release. Duh. I need to put a drop of oil down in there. I do that to all of them, especially if they sit for a long period of time and get any moisture. Come on. I need to put oil in this can. I didn't realize can't be out. There it goes. I knew it wasn't out. Drop some oil down in there. Okay. Craftsman, I cleaned it up, did some polishing. I didn't do a heavy polish on it. I mean, it's a 44975 V series thumb release. It works, all of it. And you can see somebody used a hammer. When they worked with it before, they busted something loose. Well, I say they used a hammer. It looks, by the looks of it, the sharp points there, it looks like they probably used another ratchet on it or a wrench. That looks like hammer marks. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not 100%. I did lightly polished it. No need to. This is not a piece of art. I mean, you could take this down on a belt sander and sand all this down and go down to 3000 grit and polish it. Why? You know, this is a good used tool. That's all it is. I think I got $3 in this, maybe $3 or $5. I think it's $3. So, you know, it's a good used tool. Even if you don't, if this is your first ratchet, this is a good buy. I mean, if you can find one of these for $10 or under, I'd buy it. It's well worth the money. They're well made, they last a long time, and there again, like I've said before, Craftsman, repeat, Craftsman never made their own tools. They never owned an assembly line. This ratchet could have been made from Western Forge, Proto, Plum, Snap-on. There's more manufacturers. There's so many companies that made tools. They were contracted by Sears to make tools for them. So, yeah, the shape's different. It has a unique look. That's the way it was designed. They made thousands and thousands of units, you know, off the assembly line, and they were all manufactured by, well, they were all different companies. And anyways, there you go. Very nice little tool. Not a lot of value, a lot of money in it, but very usable. Here's what I'm going to talk about. A friend of mine bought this brand new a week ago Tuesday. Brand spanking new. His hands are bigger than mine. And you have to literally, I mean, you have to almost use a screwdriver to force this thing over. And I'm not playing here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm forcing myself to push this lever switch over. He asked me, you know, if I was interested in it. I said, yeah, I'll buy it from you. And he said, no. He said, I'll give it to you. He said, I can't use it. He said, it's worthless. He cannot flip the switch over, and I'm having difficulty there. Switching it over. And what I did, I felt sorry for him. I gave him a 3/8 Craftsman ratchet, but I had one that had a thumb release on it. This has a thumb release. I gave him a thumb release ratchet. Yeah, it's not a 90 tooth, but at least on this one you can flip the switch without just, I mean, it's just so simple, it's pathetic. This one, you can't. And also, that's another thing, if it's not in the right spot, there, you can't flip it over. So, I'm just saying some of the new tools, he could not use this wrench. He could not flip the switch over. So, I traded him a ratchet like this, a 3/8, an old Craftsman ratchet. And he knew that I went through it and cleaned it and greased it, and he was pleased to have this. He was happier to have this than he was to pay this. He paid almost $25 for this one. It was 22 something plus tax. And he had to drive to Lawton to buy it. While he was down there, he bought it while he was down there in Lawton. And so you figure, you know, I know he had to go down there for something else, but if you weren't to buy this, I'd be pissed. So, there again, an old junk tool. You know, I'm a firm believer in buying old, used tools, good quality. I will grant you, somebody out there is going to say it's not a 90 tooth. Okay, it's not a 90 tooth. When's the last time you needed a 90 tooth gear? I only know of 2 mechanics, and they own several different ratchets. And there's certain ones they'll use in a certain spot, and the rest of the time they use regular ratchets. They use 60, 70 tooth, 72 tooth. They don't need a 90 or 100 and whatever, 112, 102, whatever it is. You don't need that. Most people do not need that. If you want to buy something like that, next time you're in Lowe's, look this one up and actually try that lever switch. Like I said, he did not like it, and the main reason is because his hands are bigger, his fingers are thicker, and he had a hard time flipping this switch, which, you know, he offered it to me to give it to me, and I said, I'll trade you something, and he'd like to have a ratchet. That's what I gave him, one of these 3/8 ratchets. But anyways, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's proof. Good old tools. It's just, that's what it is, a good old tool. It works, and it's very usable. These things are very easy to rebuild, very easy to work on. Clean them, take them apart. If you run across them, buy them. I highly recommend buying them. Even if you already have one, it's nice to have another one. And the reason I say that is when I do a job, I normally, like if I'm doing a brake job, I'll stick a 13 millimeter, a 15 millimeter, 17 millimeter, depending on the, and I'll use, that way I don't have to change the socket. I just leave the socket on the ratchet and just grab the ratchet. It may sound like it's a lot of trouble. It's not. I actually know frontline mechanics that do that. That's what they do. They have a ratchet and they know the job they're working on. They stick a socket on each ratchet. They don't have to change the socket out. They just pick up the ratchet. And they know, and they'll have different ratchets, and they know what's on each ratchet. Anyway, that's what I do. It's the way I was taught. That's how I learned how to do work. I have my tools set up that way. Clean them, use them, clean them, put them back in your box. They'll last a lifetime. Like I said, this one is probably, I don't know, 1950, 1960, somewhere around there. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's 60 to or 50 to 80 years old. I don't remember when they quit doing the oil spout. I don't use oil, I use grease, but still, good used tool. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough of me griping and complaining. You don't need to hear me talk. Ladies and gentlemen, you all have a good evening. Subscribe if you like. If you don't, well, thanks for watching if you stayed this long. And give me a thumbs up or subscribe. It helps my channel. Helps me find more tools to work on tools. Show you what I'm doing and how I do it. All right, guys, have a good night.